You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Hello and welcome. You are tuned into iLive Radio UK, changing the way you listen to radio. I'm your host, Miss Law, and this is a platform and an opportunity for you to discuss topics never spoken but often thought of. You can connect with us by contacting us on 0208 638 8503 or all the W's uk.iliveradio.com.
What if we spoke honestly? 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 What if we spoke honestly?
Today's topic on Black women's wisdom is family. Now the question is, what does the word family mean to you? It's a big question. A question that people don't often think about. We know that we're part of a family, but what does the word family really mean to you as an individual? Now we all have a different aspect of that word. We have a different feeling, we have a different emotions about that word. So my question to you right now is, what does the word family mean to you? Now, I'm surrounded by 3 young ladies who are mothers, are sisters, are aunties, are daughters, and cousins. And the list goes on. Now, when you think about the word family, how does it make you feel? When you put yourself into the equation, how does it make you feel, place yourself? So I'm going to stop right there. Now I've planted some thoughts in your heads, and I want you to tell me how you feel about that word, or what that word actually means to you as an individual. The floor's open.
Okay, I would say for me, when you say the word family, I just feel like it should be a place. It should be a place where you feel loved. You feel a safe place of belonging. But I know it's not always the case.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Miss B. I'd just like to say that family is really important to me as an individual. It's about coming together. It's about sharing experiences, whether they're good or bad. And family doesn't mean that you have to be a person of blood within your family. You could just be somebody that's come along, and like within my family, our doors are open. We welcome people. We make them feel like they've been here all along. So to me, as an individual, family is something really, really big. And from a little girl, it's always been important. The moments that we share together, the experiences that we kind of experience together, kind of have made like a stamp with inside myself.
So for me, I kind of agree with what the rest of the ladies are saying regarding family. It is definitely not just because you're blood, your family. And I've noticed that later on in life, like obviously growing up as a young person, I wasn't in a mother and father parent household. I was brought up by a single mother, but I had support of my aunt and gran as well. But yeah, I strongly believe in family a lot and what it means.
For me, family is key. And when I say it's key, there are so many aspects of the word family that we need to pay attention to. No, family's not just being a blood relative. Family's not just having someone that you call a brother or a sister. It's deeper than that. To the point that, you know, our values, you know, our appreciation for these individuals, these people that we class as family is key. I believe family values aren't what they were. And I think it's important that we touch on that. Yes, I appreciate we are family or we have families, but the values for me personally, I don't believe are there how they used to be.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. Growing up, Sundays was a big thing for my family, and I was very lucky to have my grandparents living on the next road from each other. So on Sundays, I'd get together with my dad's side of the family and meet all my cousins and my aunties and uncles on that side. And then a couple hours later, just cross over the road and I'll go and visit my other side of the family and hang out with them.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's important.
It's definitely important. I believe nowadays, if we look at 2020 or years that have just gone, I feel that part of our values within families is lost.
100%.
So families are not able to get together on Sundays to share a family meal together. Either parents are separated, you're now in a single family, maybe you lost that connection with that your wider family, and nobody's taken that opportunity to kind of build it back up. So it's kind of getting lost.
How about you?
I'm listening to you and I'm feeling a little bit envious actually. We had quite a closed family now. I think about it, like it was me and my mum and dad. I didn't, we did have that nuclear family set up with mum and dad, but it was a really strange childhood. As an adult, now I look back, what I thought was a really nice, happy type family unit wasn't, and it's quite sad to me now when I'm listening. I feel a bit hurt talking about it because probably within the last 2 years I've been breaking down my whole family setup, and now looking at it, it's like it wasn't a healthy experience that I had, and it's really sad. My mum and dad are still here, so it's hard because I think I don't want to hurt them, but the truth needs to be spoken about sometimes, because I think I'm not the only one probably living or growing up the way I grew up. But it's weird. When I go into detail a little bit, it wasn't a normal upbringing at all.
Yeah. So when you say that it wasn't a normal upbringing, now people need to understand. See, we have families, and when we look at the family unit, a lot of time it's quite dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Yes, we have brothers and sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, and so on and so forth. But most of the time it just boils down to being your mum or your dad or your brothers or your sisters or just your mum or just your dad. So it all breaks down. Now, the family values should still be there, because as much as you're not mother, father, brother, sister, so on and so forth, you're still a family. It doesn't matter how many members there are, you're still a family. You're still classed as a family. So one member being out of the equation doesn't mean you're no longer a family. Now, is that the case or is it not the case? Now, do people see that if as a family you should be a mother, father, a daughter, a son, or so on and so forth? Or is it the fact that one person is eliminated out of that equation, you no longer become a family, you become a broken family? Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff here, right? But I'm just throwing them out because we think about family, but we don't necessarily think about the repercussions, the changes that take place in the family. We are still family though. Doesn't matter what happens, you're still a family. So one segment out of that doesn't make you not a family, because you still have extensions of that family. You still have your grandparents, you still have your aunties, your uncles. One person not being in that equation just means that they're just not there. Doesn't make you less of a family.
But I think with that person not being there in that family, it's either they made that choice to do that.
So why should that make your family dysfunctional then?
Oh, well, I wouldn't put it as dysfunctional because I got the support and love that I needed and wanted.
But in society, and this is what is the playing field. Society dictates that if you don't have a mother and father, you come from a single home. Why title me that? I still come from a family. Why should I be a single family, single parent family?
Yeah.
Okay. Why should I be a fatherless child? All these tags that are put on us are not necessary, because we're still a family. We still have extensions of our family. But society target us and flag us and give us these titles that say, okay, if you're not in a family, mean you don't have a mother and a father, you're not a family.
And also, you don't know the reasons why that actual person's not there. For some people have losses in their family, and they have no control over that. That's out of their control. Other people, parents do separate, but it's how you go about dealing with that separation, especially if there's children involved. It's about how you go about dealing with that separation and still maintaining those values regardless of whether if you're 10 miles away.
That's right. Yeah.
Like my son, even though me and his father separated, I would say that we have still managed to instill great values in him, and it's nice to see and watch him grow and him apply those values in his life. It's just really nice to see. So I don't, even though society would say that I'm a single parent, I don't class myself as a single parent.
But that doesn't make you less of a family, does it?
And it doesn't make me less of a family.
But this is the key, though.
I think the tag single parent, it's sort of very negative as well. It's like, I do think there is an issue in our community with this whole being a black woman or a mother on your own. It's something that really does bother me, actually, and I think probably another show completely on its own, but we definitely need to look at that. Why are we on our own all the time with kids? And it's not all the time, but there is a lot of women bringing up children very well on their own. I know a lot of single mothers, as we call them, with sons that are doing extremely well.
Yes.
And they've brought up their son on their own with no father. So, I don't believe it's an excuse for children failing. I don't. I know, as I said, I grew up with a mum and dad in my house. And you may as well say, my mum was a single mum. She did everything. My dad was one of the laziest. He still is. He's lazy. He cooks on a Sunday. He cooks in the week. And I think that's all he does. I'm not joking. That's his contribution to the household. And you would think this man does everything but he rules the house. But that's a generational thing where my mum still believes she's got to serve him his dinner and put it on a plate. And it's, when you watch it, I think, is that what we've lost then? Because being subservient as the woman, although you're heading the family really, that doesn't happen. We're not like that anymore as women. We're not going to be subservient to a man that's not doing his 50% or not pulling his weight. But my mum does still.
I think people just have different values on relationship. So when you have different values on a relationship, you don't necessarily do to receive, so you may cook the meals, but he may put the trash out, or he may wash the cars. So everyone does their bit. Doesn't mean that anyone is less than the other. You know, in the older times, and I say older times, I make it seem like it's ancient, right? Older generation. Their morals and standards were somewhat very different from what we do today. Now, we talk about the family. Now, does that mean that we need to instill those values again? And if we are to, how do we go about that?
Oh, wow. I'm not sure if it's about, I mean, I think, especially like our parents' generation, which was probably the first generation that came here to Britain, you know, I think, especially the women just put up with a lot and stayed married. And I don't think as women, we're prepared to put up with what our parents did. And I think that's where the breakdown probably began a bit, where the traditional roles of a man and a woman, it stopped kind of happening. You know, women became quite rightly a lot more independent, you know, working full-time themselves, bringing up family, you know, so society changed, I suppose, and time started to move forward. And I know me as a single mother, I was just not prepared. I'm not prepared to stay with any man. I don't care. I mean, if he's not doing right, I'm not staying. Or, you know, the relationship, you know, you want to be in a relationship that's healthy and functions, and we both put in, it doesn't matter about money, it's about putting in, like you said, an equal amount. You put in, it doesn't matter how it comes, whether one person's out working full time.
Yeah, it's not quantified by money.
No, it's what you bring to the table. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. And I think what's happened, and, you know, as much as I do love my men in the community, I think that's where it started to go a bit, where the men are not, and it's not all men, there's some good men out there, but some of our men need to be accountable and responsible, and I think we're losing it, or we've lost it a lot.
Okay, so
yeah, just going back to how now values that our parents kind of live by could change now. You know, we don't have to take on all the values, just like anything. Like, if I tell you this bottle's green and it's blue, you're not actually you have the choice to agree or believe whether or not if my bottle is blue or green. Yeah. So, for example, the values, how our parents were brought up, we now, as adults and as parents, have the decision to decide, okay, I actually agreed with that value. I'm going to take that value and I'm going to instill it within my family. I'm going to embed it within my family. Yeah. You know, there's some things that my dad thinks is, you know, because of how he was brought up, he believes that this is the way things should be. Nowadays, I say to him, Dad, you know what, not to be disrespectful or anything, because I was brought up to have respect for my elders. You know, it's about how you now approach them and talk to them. Yeah. You can't talk to them how I would be talking to you, because they might see it as being disrespectful. Yeah. You've got to kind of review it, reanalyze it, take it apart, think, okay, I do believe in having respect for my elders. However, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't give my opinion or my value or say how I feel, because that's my dad. Yeah. You know? So, sure. I mean, nowadays, I believe that we do carry on with the kinds of values that our parents were brought up on. Yeah. However, we've just kind of adapted it a bit. Yeah? Yeah. So I've adapted it. My son, I've instilled certain things within my son. He will then, when he has his family or whoever he classes as his friends, or I mean, like, you know, his family, he will then adapt the things that I have taught him. Yeah. So I just believe that throughout generations, those morals and values will change. But those little important things, like coming together, looking out for the young ones on the street, like if I see somebody else's child, I should be able to say to them, do you know what, you're not making the right decision. You need to deal with something. You need to deal with something. You need to deal with that situation differently. And I would hope that they wouldn't come at me in a way where they've taken it as a negative thing, but taken it as, I'm looking out for you because I still class you as my family. Do you understand? So this is other people's children or other young children. I'm not just going to say black children, it's all children within community that maybe you might see them doing something that you know through
it's
experience
wrong,
or just knowing that it's wrong, that you should be able to then say to them, oh, do you know, that's not good, or maybe you shouldn't do that,
because that's how we were growing up. Like if we were caught doing something wrong on the street, they'll be like, I know your mum and dad, like if you don't stop what you're doing, I'm going to tell your mum and dad. And then you would literally get scared, right?
That's right.
Do you remember that saying, you never know who's going to be on the bus?
Right.
So when I used to come from school, listen, I was the best girl you could ever, because I'm thinking, I never know who's going to be on that bus that knows my mum or my dad.
Right.
And before I get home, they're going to know what kind of behaviour I've been getting up to on the bus. So I believe that, those little things are lost. You can't sometimes talk to someone else's child on the bus to say,
what were we frightened of though? Because I was exactly the same. What exactly were we frightened of? Because it was that whole fear of if your parents find out, and that just kept you, when you left the house, you knew if anybody went back and told your parents. So what is it that we've lost? Because it's a small thing.
Yeah, but I'm not actually directing it on the fear, because it wasn't about, I don't believe that my parents told me that because of the fear. They told me that because there's a certain way that you carry yourself.
Certain standards.
Yeah. So you're going on public transport. You don't need to be rowdy and whatever. Don't get me wrong. You can have fun with your friends. You can bust a joke or whatever.
There's a time and a place.
But there's a time and a place. Exactly. There's a time and a place. And you when you're going out into public, you need to know how to carry yourself properly.
And I think it's like a representation of your parents.
Of course.
So it's like you have to be a certain way, because when they hear about that now, they feel as a parent, what am I doing to discipline my child? So when we're out on the road, like he or she's not acting silly. You know what I mean?
For me, I just feel that standards have dropped terribly. The respect level just is not there, and for me that's a problem, because we need to be respectful of one another. We need to up our level of morals and standards. We've really let things slide, and it's to our detriment.
Definitely.
Because like you said, you could go out and see another child misbehaving and approach them and say something. In current times, that's like a no-go area, because you do not know what you're going to be confronted with. You don't know whether that person's going to do something rather untoward. You just don't have that space to do that anymore, because we now fear the youth. Now, why do we fear the youth? Why are we feeling that way? We are people who have come from high morals standards, this respect level is up there, but yet now we're scared to approach our youth, who once upon a time were respectful.
Right. I actually believe the youth are still respectful today. I believe that they've been stigmatised. So it's kind of been like you've been programmed to believe that all these youths are going to be angry, or going to stab you, or going to jump you, or going to rob you. They've painted that picture. They've planted that seed in your head.
Yes.
So it's like I said, you're not going to believe my bottle's green. if I told you explicitly. Do you get what I mean? Like, so it's about what you believe, and it's also about how you approach these youths today. If you approach them respectfully, you would hope that they come back with respect. You've got to know how to come down to their level, and approach them. I had an incident the other day, and in reflection, how I approached it in anger. Right. So then I don't believe that I came across very respectful. However, the youth that actually then spoke back to me, he spoke to me with respect. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Then I had to think, oh my God, actually, I've come out here all in my feelings, okay, and I've approached this youth, and I'm saying, like, you're not making too much noise, like I can hear you through my wall, like whatever. And
did you apologise?
I did apologise, because automatically
he made you change.
He made me think. He made me think. Actually, do you know what? I actually don't have to approach these guys like that, because they're not what society has labelled them as. Do you understand? I can come to them just the same way I'd approach my son and say to my son, do you know what? Because I know my son, I could approach them in that way. So that made me reflect on.
It's a good learning curve.
It's definitely a good learning curve.
It's not a myth, though, I'll be honest. I definitely agree. It's the way you approach them, the young people today. Not everybody can approach them. So you're right to be, not everybody can go up to the young guys, especially the guys on the street, even the girls, actually. As a woman, I find sometimes the girls they're like, you speak to some young girls on the street, it's like, they look at you like you've got three heads. It's like they're not used to people engaging, I think, adults speaking to them. So they're quite shocked at first. Their face tells you everything. And then they look at you and then they're like, are you talking to me, kind of thing? The look on their face. And then they'll actually speak to you. But at first, they're shocked. As for the boys, I would say you need to approach them quite.
We have a caller coming through.
Ooh.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Talks Honest.
Hi, good afternoon. Very, very interesting subject you guys are talking about. I feel that the way you're talking about what's that kind of breakdown and why the kids aren't listening, the disassociation with us as adults, there's a problem with that where it begins with, because it seems like nowadays our generation, and I am in my late 40s, our generation aren't communicating with each other on an even balance.
Okay.
We seem to kind of like argue amongst each other, or even when we go into our children's school is like, we'll say to the child, what did that parent do, or why is that child acting that way? Let me go down there. If I speak to that other child's parent, it's whereas before it wasn't like that. Our parents would talk to other parents or speak to the head teacher, and don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted, they wouldn't take kindly if their child was, dealt with in the wrong way. But at the same time, they had more of a community cohesion between each other. You could leave your doors open at one point.
Yes.
You knew who your neighbor was. Nowadays, you don't even know who your neighbor is.
Very true.
And the one thing that your neighbor would do, you're going to turn around and kind of cuss them or abuse them. You just don't speak to them.
Yeah.
And the person that's on the road as well, we walk on the road and we don't talk to each other whatsoever. So my thing is, we need to, as you've mentioned already, come together, get more unified, and our children will see that. Our children are seeing us ununified at the present moment, so they take advantage of that and think, well, no one can't tell me nothing. They see the breakdown in the adults, so that's how they're managing to get away with what they get away with. If we as adults can come together as one, first of all, and have that unison, then there's nowhere that they can go. If you remember when we was growing up, our parents was like, there was a unit, even though they disagreed in themselves, as we know as adults, but when it comes to the children, there was one force. So if you went to dad and said, Dad, blah, 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 mum, he would stand behind mum, and vice versa. Now, there's a lot of divided families or unfortunate single parent families, and one father would say something about the mum would say something about the father, so the child knows who to play who against.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just my piece on it.
Very valid.
Very valid, yes. Thank you very much for calling in. It's really
wonderful show. Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, bye.
But that's just, sorry, going back to what I was saying, thank you very much. It's very valid. I think it's exactly what's happened. I think it's just some basic fundamentals we've lost, which have made such a drastic difference to our community. And I think the fundamentals are trust.
Yes.
We stopped trusting each other. So we started sort of battling community, islands against islands. It's ridiculous, our parents came here from the Caribbean and came here and was one because they all were fighting a system that was against them. So they stayed together and it worked. And, we might not have agreed with some of the things our parents did when we were growing up. I mean, as we talked about some values we passed on, one of the ones I won't is the beatings. I mean, but did I respect and fear my parents? Yes, I did. When I talk about being on the bus, I was frightened because for me, it was the repercussions when I got home. If anything got back to my dad, I'm telling you. So, and I hardly got hit as a child, I'll be honest. I was quite a good child, but I was frightened. So for me, it was the level of, I had to respect my parents because I was brought up in a home where we were supposed to be seen and not heard. I used to hear that a lot.
Why was that though? I mean, when you say that, now when you think about that, being adults sitting here right now, think about that. Seen and not heard. Where did that come from?
Back home, I think. I don't know.
But where?
It was wrong.
You think about it as an adult, your mothers, some of you, and when you have a child that you see, you want them to talk.
Yeah.
In the current society that we're in, you want your kids to talk. If your child doesn't talk, you're worried, you're concerned. Oh, what's wrong?
Yeah. And that's an easy way for your child to hide stuff from you because they have that excuse to say, well, my mum said, or my dad said, or my aunt said, or my uncle said. You need to be seen and not heard.
Indeed.
And regardless whether you've got an issue or not, you don't feel comfortable to go and, approach that adult to express exactly how you feel. And working in a school and working with children, that part is actually quite a fundamental skill for them to have.
Indeed.
To be able to share their feelings, be able to know how to deal with your feelings and express how you feel to others is quite important. Yeah.
When I think about the family unit, the support, I want to talk about the support. See, when we were growing up, we had that support mechanism.
Yeah.
We had grandma, we had grandpa, we had auntie and uncle.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be there now. Not so much. Don't get me wrong, it is there, but not on the scale that it used to be.
So the question is, where did the disconnect happen?
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if we were instilled with those values as a child into adulthood, what happened to us as an adult who then go on to have children or a child, what happened from there?
Yeah.
That's the question you need to ask ourselves, because maybe from there we can go back to that and see how we could fix that.
Yeah.
So we can get back to how it should be.
Yeah.
Because for some, it's just crazy right now.
Yeah.
And like in the last 5 to 10 years or even more, it's just been carnage with some of these young people.
Yeah, I think that the support could have gone because of people's focus. We more or less took our focus off of the family. When I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking about weekends at my aunt's, if you want an aunt or an uncle one weekend, you are a cousin or a stepmother, a godmother, or
you was at someone's family home every week.
Do you think it's about the aunt and uncle, or like for myself, I'm an aunt, and it's not always down to the child to say they want to come to stay with me. It's actually my responsibility as the aunt to then call my sister and say, oh sis, I want to have the kids for the weekend, or my sister to call me and say, sis, I need a break, would you be able to have the kids? And I just think that part's lost.
Does that boil down to possible feuding then?
Yeah.
I mean, like when you think about the family connection, the feuds that you have, jealousy in the family, you know, kind of breaks down relationships.
Sometimes, but it's not always the case.
No.
Sometimes it's that, you know, you're busy trying to build whatever you've got going on. Maybe, you know, you're trying to build something for your small little family that you've got, whether that's your son, your daughter,
so your focus
etc. So your focus has kind of you're just
on your immediate family.
Yeah, but wouldn't you need more help though if you're building? You'd need the support then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would need the support, but sometimes it's not always available. Like you said, it could be that you're building something for yourself, your sister's then building something for yourself. At the time when you're calling your sister, oh sis, could you have so-and-so for the weekend? Oh no, sorry sis, I'm actually a bit busy at the moment, because not that they don't want to, but their focus is something else.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So
yeah, wouldn't you say then we've become a bit selfish? You know, we've become selfish because that's not a good thing. If you've got family, I could never have brought my daughter up on my own. I couldn't, because I went back to work full time when she was 7 months old, and by then me and her father sadly weren't together. So I began to be a single parent very quickly and had to function basically. But if my mum and dad, I didn't want, obviously 7 months old, I was lucky to have parents and aunties that were looking after my child. I never asked for a babysitter. I used to make my plans to go out because I just knew I had somebody. I was fortunate. Yeah. But now I think it's quite sad because mothers have got younger, and to hear young girls say they haven't got anyone to look after their children, I think that's so sad. But because they're young, their mums are young, and I think their mums are not willing to take on the responsibility of grandparents, because if you're in your early 30s and you're a grandparent, are you going to stop and start looking after another child?
Yeah, but it's not about stopping. It's not about stopping. It's just taking that time to have your grandchild or your grandson. It's just, do you understand? It's making that sacrifice. You're not stopping anything.
No, but I'm just saying, this is how if you think about somebody at 30 odd, I was young. Would I want to start, when I want to do things and go out and live my life, if my child has decided to have a child, that's not my responsibility. She now has to be responsible to bring her child up. So I think I've heard mothers say it, grandparents, I'm not raising it. And I know that's not the right way, but our children shouldn't be having kids as children anyway, I don't believe, it happens.
Okay.
For me, that boils down to family values. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how young or how old a child has a child.
Yeah, because I had my son young. So, and for that simple reason, if the family unit is there, it doesn't matter. All these things don't matter. You've got that support, however old you are. Whatever you're doing, the support has always been there, or would always be there, because you're not just talking about a mother and her child. You're talking about a grandparent. You're talking about a great-grand sometimes. You're talking, the family extension is so far but few. But it just seems like we're having this conversation right now and we're only talking about immediate. We're talking about mother and daughter. Yeah. We haven't even discussed grandparent. You know, just talking about that scenario you just discussed a moment ago. So even our thought process isn't computing that there is a support beyond the mother and the child. So I did have the support, but I lost my mum. So my son only got to share a small amount of time with his grandmother. Yeah. And my mum's rule was, yeah, I'll look after them. You can go out, but make sure you're here in the morning to get up, to give them breakfast. So
still your responsibility.
It's still our responsibility. So my mum wasn't that mother that said she's not having her grandchildren. There was just rules that went with it. So we'd have to make sure that they're washed and ready for bed before we leave out. And do you understand?
So doesn't mean responsibility.
Yeah, so she still was instilled with responsibilities. And that's what I'm talking about with values. You know, like, to me, those are good values to have. I'm not saying that my mum at first didn't agree with the fact that I was pregnant at a young age. However, she didn't just shut the door. She still supported me, and that was the way that she supported me, and she still taught me how to become a good parent in that respect.
Sorry, I was going to say just something that will probably throw a little bit of a spanner into the works, but something that I've always kind of had and always wanted. I didn't really want children. I don't think hardly none of us really wanted to be on our own with kids. I don't think any of us women saw that as a vision. I didn't want to have children before I got married. That was one of my things. So I had my daughter, you know, probably a little bit later, because I was actually waiting to be proposed to. And in the end I gave up. I thought, I'm at an age now, I want to be a mum. And I made a choice, and I remember making this choice and thinking, whether this works or not, I'm ready to be a mum, and I know I can do it on my own now if I have to, which is a wrong way to bring a child in, I'm sorry. And I think we're thinking about, now it's like very acceptable, oh, you know, me and the dad are not together, I'm pregnant, we're not together. What is that? I mean, why are we choosing to start families? Our kids need a family unit, and we're going into it broken from the beginning as far as I'm concerned. And that's something I think we need to fix. We need, when you talk about raising moral standards, why as women are we so happy to have children and be on our own? Why?
Right. And do you believe that is lost? Do you get what I mean? Like, if you look back at our parents or our grandparents, they were together, you know, like growing up, your mum and dad were together, your aunt and your uncle were together. Like, those are the things you saw growing up. And so for yourself, saying that you was waiting to be with that person, you wanted to be married so that you could have your child, and then it turned out that you end up just having it without, you know.
For me, there's no right or wrong way to raise a child. That's my concept of it. You can go through the marriage, you can go through the having the child after or having the child before. At the end of the day, you have a responsibility. You're a parent. You have created a family. Whether a family breaks down or not, it's irrelevant. You have a duty. You are a family member, and your family extends from you outward. That could be a sister from another mother, a brother from another mother. Okay, it takes a community to grow a child. Okay.
So I'm in the chat room right now on uk.iliveradio.com, and Finn has said, to be seen or not heard is a slavery saying. Yes. It is our own responsibility to take on the raising of our siblings' children.
100%.
Yeah, I agree with you, Finn.
Yeah,
definitely. Like Miss Law just said, you know, it takes all of us. It's all of our responsibility.
It is.
It's not just down to that one parent.
You know, sometimes when a parent isn't able to do something, you know, we're parents, okay? And even though we may not physically have children, we may have godchildren, okay? But we know we have a responsibility as women. And it's not just down to the woman, but as women, we give birth to children. We have that bond. We have that skill that we see something that's not right. We know it's not right. Our sixth sense will say to us as parents, because we have these things within us, that child doesn't seem okay, or that child seems lost. But sometimes we don't respond to it because it's not our child.
But are you allowed to? Because I'm, as an aunt, I'm I'm an aunt. I've got 5 great nephews and nieces, and you know, I parent different, and I believe yes, there is a right way. It's not about there's no wrong and right. There is a right way of bringing children up. It's really important and it's really key. And I think because you can spoil a child, that doesn't mean you're being a good parent either. There is a right way. There certainly is.
It's about having a balance, maybe.
It also does boil down to the child, because you can spoil a child, and if a child not materialistic, that child's no different from any other child.
But why, as a parent, would you be spoiling a child? That's not a right thing to do anyway. I mean, what do we call spoiling? What are you saying?
Okay, so for example, some people could spoil a child to compensate for the fact that they're not actually there.
That's correct.
So they're not able to.
But that's still
so they're not able to spend the actual valuable time with them. Yeah. So instead of actually spending that, instead of actually making the time to spend the time, they compensate and replace it with materialistic things.
So sometimes the word spoil is used in the wrong context, because every parent has a different way of parenting. So a parent that's not there 24/7, working 3 jobs or whatever it may be, may feel the need to buy things for their child.
It's not good parenting though, yeah? You know,
not necessarily.
Not great parenting.
Not necessarily.
Buying things.
No.
That's like someone buying love. That's you can't buy love. You cannot. Yeah.
Okay, I disagree.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying that's your and all of being of parenting. I'm just saying there are times where you can't physically be with your child. True. You may feel the need to quantify your absence. You will buy your child something and say, it's not you buy something and you that's it. You're conversating. Obviously I haven't been around. Whatever the scenario,
you explain your
situation,
right.
and and I just felt that you deserve this because you've coped with this.
Right.
I haven't been there to do what I need to do. So
I was one of their mums. Because I worked, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't call it spoiling, but my daughter she didn't go without anything. She had everything, yeah?
But in society, that would be classified as spoiling her.
But what I would say is this, I worked a 12-hour day, so I wasn't there a lot. I worked a 12-hour day, so she was with my parents. So as a mum, there was an element of guilt because yes, she had everything, but she didn't have me. And she now tells me I wasn't at her school this, I wasn't at my college. She remembers everything.
They will do.
Because I was working. Yeah. But she also understands that she wanted to do all these things and live a certain way, and I had to provide.
Exactly.
I was on my own. But why I don't say spoiling, because I brought my daughter up with, she had just had respect, and I had very old-fashioned, I'm an old-fashioned mum. So those values that I was taught went down into my daughter. So even though she had the material things, she was so, and still is at 20, still is.
This is exactly my point. I don't like to use the word spoil. You can give your child what you so please, okay? It boils down to the morals and standards of that child that will determine what journey that child takes and what respect level that child would have. If you're doing certain things and not doing the main thing, i.e. the communication, the love and affection, being the parent, and you just replace it by purchasing, giving them gratuities and niceties, and without no relationship, that's a completely different. That's a completely different relationship.
Yeah.
Without giving understanding behind why you're actually.
Yeah. That is buying your child.
Yeah.
Communication is the thing,
key.
I think. It's the key.
It's key.
It really is. It is the key, I think.
I mean, the family unit is so important to all of us. We sit here as sisters having this conversation. It's touching on heartstrings.
It is.
It's like it's taking us back years where we think about things that, oh my gosh, I remember that, and like, have I? And you question yourself because you think to yourself, have I done a good job as a parent? Because that's what it takes you back. Because you sit there and you think to yourself, have I done what I need to do as a parent? Does my child see that? Yeah. Does my child understand that? These are all things that we don't actually think about or may not be thinking about. All we feel is we have done our bit as a parent. But how does that child actually feel? How does that grandparent feel? How does that uncle feel? So we both go right back. The family unit, the word family. It's not just you and my child, or you and your child, or you and your godchild, or you and your nephew. It's a whole family. And I think we just tend to become quite selfish in our actions and how we do things and how we quantify doing what we do. So long as it's socially acceptable by us, it's okay. You don't care about anybody else. I'm doing what I need to do for my child.
Oh no.
It never used to be that way. It was, if you had a hard time with your child, you'd speak to your sister, you speak to your brother.
Yeah.
Oh, does your son do this? Does your daughter do that? Or Dad, I don't know why she's doing that. You're having these conversations, but I just don't feel these conversations are being had anymore.
And sometimes it's down to the adult actually feeling kind of ashamed, because they might not want to talk about the fact that they actually have no understanding themselves as to why their child is doing that. But what they need to know is they're still learning.
Exactly.
They're still a parent, and every day you might experience or go through something with your child that you've never come in contact with before. And just like doing a math sum, you got to work out the formula. You got to work out how to get from A to B. You're not just going to know without actually going through that actual experience. So
I think as becoming parents is something we all sort of learn on the job. I mean, you did sort of adapt some of what you learned as a child, what your parents taught you, but a lot of it, there's no parenting manual, and every child's different. So you do learn on the job as you go along. And I think our community, you're right, parents I'm still learning. You never stop.
No,
I'm learning more now than I ever did. And I think you never ever, and you shouldn't stop, because we should be trying to develop as people. Yeah. I think we need to help. I think if that, for me, I think, okay, if, I think I've done okay. I'm not a perfect mother. I think I've done okay. And I think, you see it in my child. You can only see, I think you see the benefits or the upbringing because of your child. I look at my child, I'm proud of her. Yeah. And I think, okay, well, that shows how I've parented to an extent.
Yeah, maybe there's no gauge on being a parent.
No.
Because at the end of the day, if you've never parented before, you don't know, you haven't had that experience. So if you're a mother of one child, then it's been a learning curve from when you started to today, tomorrow, and going forward.
And that's where you're going to learn, as a parent, I didn't just learn some of my values from my mum and my dad. Having that big family unit, I learned it from my aunt, my uncles.
That's good.
It wasn't just that I learned it from those two people.
That's right.
Everybody in my family has had an important role in the woman that I've become today.
Yes.
I think we should be helping other parents.
Definitely.
Help. We should help. We should definitely help.
There's a lot of young black women and men who are now trying to uplift others, and that's what it's about. Uplifting and encouraging others is actually really important.
It is, yes.
If you see someone struggling doing something, then you should kind of
reach out
and say, okay, I might not know what to do, because this is what I do with my son. My son does graphics. I don't know the ins and outs of graphics. However, I've lived. So there could be some aspects of my living that maybe could help him or assist him in solving whatever problem it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be,
I'm an architect.
because I haven't got that. However, I've got other skills, and it's all about helping other people build up those skills. Help them evolve, blossom like a flower.
Indeed, it's very important. The family, the word family. It's an interesting word. All of which we all have different views, points. Things that we think about when we think about the word family. Some ups, some downs, some good moments, some bad moments. But overall, the word family means good things to most of us. There are people who don't necessarily have a family unit. They don't have a person to reach out to. They don't have any support mechanism. They just have themselves and their child. And that's the point where you think about how we can help, how you can help to make things a little bit easier for an individual who doesn't have that support, that family, that person there to lean on, to assist them along the way. These are things that we may not think about on a day-to-day basis, but we do need to think about. We do need to think about how we can help another person, even though times have changed and people are not so socially acceptable to opinions and comments, and just that hand to say, if you need help, I'm here. We have to change the way we do things. We have to be more helpful, be more assisting, really allow people to reach out again, because we just have lost that. We're so caught up in being who we are, we don't think about other people. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening to today's show, and good night and God bless.